So we are on Henry II Plantagenet. Yesterday we did William the Conqueror and how he took over England, remember? Now we've skipped a few hundred, well, it's 100 years. See, look. William the Conqueror, 1066, that's when he takes over England. Then we move to 100 years later, 1154. This R dot, that's when Henry started ruling. That's what that means. He was born, I think like it's in the 1230s. Doesn't really matter. I know you're like, who cares? Well, I care. 1133. That's when he was born. 1133. Okay. So, if you remember, we have William the Conqueror who took over England. He's French, yes? Then we have all this drama. Oh, what was that? We have all this drama until we get down here to Henry II Plantagenet. It's still part of William the Conqueror's family. See? Henry II Plantagenet is also French. In fact, Plantagenet, that's his land. That's where he's from. Henry II. Henry II is described as being incredibly tall. Head and shoulders taller than everybody. I don't know, 6'4" maybe? 6'5"? For back then, that was like, I mean, for today, that's tall. Oh my gosh. But for back then, holy cow, dude, that was just huge. It was crazy. He's also described as having fiery red hair. He's also described as having a flash temper, where he can be fun and like, what's up, 1 minute, and then roar in the next second. He can get so mad so fast. In fact, they say that whenever he gets really mad, his face gets as red as his hair. Does that look like him? Again, medieval art is just, it's just fun. It's just crazy. It's just like, it's so childlike, and you can't really get a very good like visual of what they look like. So we're gonna look at a painting that was done of him later, just like with William the Conqueror. This one. This is a famous painting of Henry II. It's not from his lifetime. So is it accurate to the way that he looked? Oh no, because we don't know exactly. We just like, this is based on what's it called? Descriptions. In this one, you do see his red hair. And this whole family is known for their red hair. In fact, the English royalty for a long time is going to be known for their red hair. So there he is. Henry II Plantagenet. Oh, that's his wife. Henry II Plantagenet takes over and immediately realizes, okay, I can't be in charge of the court. Court, like you go to court. You punch me in the face, I take you to court. Up to this point, the king was also the judges, okay? And so all these people were coming to Henry II, like, for suing people and stuff. And he was like, okay, enough. I don't have time for this. So he starts this trial by jury. Okay, now listen. It's not trial by jury like we have. It's not 12 people. It's only like 6, I think. Or maybe it's 8, but it doesn't matter. It's not 12. It's only men. I probably shouldn't surprise you girls. And it's only nobles. So if you're a peasant female, is it really a trial of your peers? No. But that's okay. It's a start to having like trial by jury like we have today. So that's good. But what makes him more interesting is his messed up family. This is my favorite family in history. Not because they're nice, sweet, good boys and girls. Oh my gosh, they're crazy. They make you feel good about your family. You're like, oh, my family's crazy. They got you beat. I promise. I promise. His wife. When you look at her name, it looks like Eleanor. 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 Eleanor, and she's from a part of France called the Aquitaine. That's the name of her land. Guys, her name isn't even really spelled this way. This is the English spelling of her name. Her French spelling is Alienor. It's alien or Eleanor. And this is her lovely self. Oh, I can't make this picture bigger. What? I can't. Look, see, I'm zooming. Zoom, zoom, zoom. I can't do it. Just get real close and check her out because, and you can see her name spelled right here. Eleanor, the Duchess of Aquitaine. Eleanor of Aquitaine was described as being gorgeous, the most beautiful woman in the Gothic period. We look at that picture and we're like, she's also said to have had a little bit of red in her hair, kind of a strawberry blonde, maybe. She was really small, like barely 5 foot. Just gorgeous woman. Again, we look at this and we're like, oh. This is a famous painting of her, done way later. Again, it's not from her lifetime. It's not medieval art. But you can see her red hair. She looks nice. I just like that dress. I think the dress is really pretty. I don't want to wear it. Her cute little doggy. I love doggies. Anyway, this is like a modern version of Eleanor of Aquitaine. Okay? I don't know what's up with the birds. Okay. This story gets confusing. Are you paying attention? Eleanor of Aquitaine was incredibly educated, highly educated. That's not normal for back then. Back then, girls were kept dumb as bricks. Guys, when you're uneducated, you can be controlled. Did you hear me? That's why we give a rip about you being educated. Because when you're educated, you know better. When you're not educated, you can be controlled. And unfortunately, some of the people who are the loudest, they can't control me, are some of the least educated. Think about it. You know I'm right. I mean, it's true. I teach history. Eleanor is incredibly educated. And for a female, that's not always so good. But that's okay. She knows how to use her assets to get what she wants. We call it bedroom politics. Yeah, it's what you think. Bedroom politics. Well, I'll give you sex if you give me this law. That's bedroom politics. She does it well. She marries, now don't get caught, don't get confused, okay? She becomes the Queen of France when she marries Louis VII, King of France. So she's now the queen, yes? And she immediately starts ruling through him. He's a weak king. He's a weak personality. He's not like a strong king who's going to take over and do things. He's weak. And she sees that and she's like, oh, that's not how you run a country. So she comes in and she's like, here's what we need to do, buddy. You're going to do this and you're going to do this. And he's like, woman, I can't do that. She says, I guess you can't have sex with me either, honey. And he's like, oh, I'll pass that law. She controls him. That's bedroom politics. She is controlling France. Not really him. But see, here's the problem. His nobles know it. His nobles see that. And his nobles are like, ugh, we got no respect for him. Gross. So they start kind of, I don't know, dissing him, disrespecting him, not listening to him. Okay. Fast forward. He wants a divorce. Well, there's a problem. They're Catholic. In the medieval Catholic Church, you couldn't get divorces. It didn't work. It wasn't allowed. It's not allowed. Hey, I'm good. How are you? All right, good. They weren't allowed. So Pope says, okay, then you got to give me an annulment. Well, what's an annulment? Well, an annulment is like a divorce, except an annulment never happened. A divorce happened. A divorce has kids. A divorce has a house. It happened. But an annulment, it gets completely erased. And it's like saying that marriage never, ever, ever took place. Got it? Never happened. The Pope grants an annulment. Don't worry. She gets married like 8 weeks later. She's already getting married to Henry II Plantagenet. This is their wedding picture. Again, medieval art is just, ooh. This is Henry, and this is Eleanor. And they're like, hey, look at her hand. She's like, what's up? He's pointing at her. She's my wife. Um, he's like 6'4". She's like 5 foot. But they literally look like twins in this picture. Literally, like twins. Ugh. Thank you. Like they look like twins. It's awful art, but it's still fun. So anyway, they get married like 8 weeks later. Yes? Okay. He's 11 years younger than she is. Henry II Plantagenet is 11 years younger than she is. You're like, so? First of all, that wasn't normal back then. It's a little more normal today, but not back then. Ooh, it was so scandalous. But on top of that, she's like, this 20-year-old kid, I can control him easy. She walks into this marriage and she's like, all right, little man, I know how to deal with these nobles. Just let me go into the meeting with you and I'll show you what to do. And he's like, woman, you go and knit with all the other ladies. You go and quilt. You should go and be doing women stuff. You don't need to be in parliament. Oh, there is no parliament. Just kidding. You don't need to be in the government. Go home. And she's like, Henry, probably flipping her hair. Yeah. She's like, you can't talk to me that way. Henry II Plantagenet, he's not a weak personality like Louis VII was. He's a strong personality. He gets what he wants. And he looks at her and says, for real, go. And she's like, for real, if you make me go, you better find somewhere to sleep tonight. And he's like, all right, I'll sleep with one of your maids like I did last night. This is the most dysfunctional marriage ever, but it's the most fun marriage to like teach about and talk about. Because again, this couple is an absolute holy mess. They're a wreck. They're fun to learn about. They're abusive to each other. Mentally, emotionally, physically. And they have several kids. It's weird because they fight all the time, but they apparently like each other quite a bit because they're going to have 3 daughters. Eleanor, little Eleanor Jr., Matilda, and who's the third one? Dang, I can't remember the third one's name. Sorry. But there's 3 daughters. And then there's sons. William. But he dies as a baby. Oh. Henry Jr. We would call him Henry Jr., but he'd really be called Henry the Younger back then. And then the next oldest is Richard. We name him the Lionheart. And then the next oldest son is Geoffrey, the Duke of Brittany. And then the next oldest is John Lackland. 5 sons, 3 daughters. They got busy. The oldest son dies, like I said, like it's a baby. So Henry, the younger, Henry Jr., is going to be the next king. Okay? He's very well prepared. He knows what he's doing. Everything's great with Henry. Until he dies. Oops. This is an abusive relationship, again, on both sides. I often have students that are like, I hate Henry. He beats his wife. I know. She beats him too. It's reciprocally abusive. They're both abusive to each other. But again, they apparently like each other. It's weird. It's weird. So it's just a mess. But that being said, at some point in the marriage, we could look at the actual date. I don't care that much though. Eleanor of Aquitaine gets her sons, her 3 sons, Henry the Younger, Richard, and Geoffrey, not John. Hold on, I'll talk about John in a minute. She gets her 3 sons to revolt against their father and try to kick him out of the kingdomship, like get rid of him as king. Not necessarily kill him, but overthrow him and replace him with the oldest son, Henry the Younger. I'm sorry, there's so many Henrys. It's like, Henry the Younger, okay? During this revolt, Henry the Younger dies. Oh, dang it. Here's how the revolt ends. Eleanor gets locked in the tower. Henry, the father, doesn't want her to have a lot of, what's the word? Discussion, conversation, influence. There we go. He doesn't want her to have a lot of influence over his sons. So he locks her in the tower. Now, y'all, she's still the queen, okay? It's not like she's locked up there and left to rot. She's still the queen. She still comes down for like Christmas feasts and parades and all that kind of stuff. But she doesn't just have free reign to roam the castle grounds or whatever, okay? The boys. Well, Henry died. Geoffrey and Richard are put in prison for like 6 months or something. Maybe it's longer. I don't remember. They're put in prison for a little while. Their crime was treason. What is treason? Trying to overthrow your government, going against your king. Oh my gosh. I fidget. I do that in class too. I fidget with things. And I just threw water all over my face. So anyway, treason. The punishment for treason is death. Well, he doesn't want to kill his wife, so he puts her in the tower. He doesn't want to kill his other sons either. He just lost his oldest son. So he puts him in prison. The reason that John, the youngest son, was not involved. John, how do you describe John? John was the runt of the family. John was quite a bit younger than everybody else. He was very sickly as a child. We actually today, we think his only issue was asthma. Severe asthma, but asthma. But like he couldn't breathe. Based on what people say about him, we think he may have had severe asthma. But that being said, John was really like coddled by Henry too. Like, oh, my little boy, my sweet boy. Okay. And as a result, John was also kind of whiny. He wasn't the sick kid who people love. He was the sick kid who was like, why can't I play too? It's not fair that I can't breathe. I mean, that's just annoying. Nobody wants to play with that kid. Nobody. So don't be that kid. Nobody wants to play with that kid. So people just were kind of by John, right? But Dad, Henry II, loved him very much. So Eleanor didn't want him in on this plot to overthrow him because she didn't think that John, like, she didn't trust John to not tell Henry too. The other issue with John is he's younger. He's quite a bit younger than all the others. So when Henry the Younger and like Richard the Lionheart are like late teens, early 20s, John is like 12 or something. I'd have to look up the actual dates, but he's quite a bit younger. And so, like, you're not going to have like a 12, 13-year-old go fight unless you have to. There are times when that happens, especially in the medieval period, but not now. So, John's not involved. As a result of this, John really becomes Daddy's favorite because he's the only one that wasn't involved in the plot to overthrow him. Well, fast forward. Eventually comes to an end to everybody. 11, I can't highlight it. Here we go. 1189 is the magical date for Henry II Plantagenet. He dies. When Henry II Plantagenet dies, his next oldest remaining son, Richard, is going to be the king. Now, Richard didn't want to be king. Richard never wanted to be king. Richard is a knight. He's the head knight, captain of the guard, and he's an amazing warrior. His nickname is Richard the Lionheart. Lion, like bravery. The lion-hearted. What that means is courageous, because he's a warrior. Look, that R dot means ruled. He only ruled as king for 10 years. That's not very long. During that 10 years, he was completely absent. He was only in England for like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something total. I don't think I put it on your notes. It's either 6 weeks or 6 months. He hated England. In fact, he has a quote that's like something about England being so dreary, the weather, blah, blah, blah. He hated England. He's French, guys. These people are like kings of England, but they're from France. And he's like, I hate this place. This place up north, it's cold and it's wet and it's, ugh. He hated it. But he also was gone quite a bit because he's leading the Third Crusade. Why do I always sneeze on here? Dang it. Sorry. He's leading the Third Crusade. Okay, stop. In our Plantagenet story, let's take a little bit of a detour and talk for a minute about the Crusades. Dang, I don't know how long this video is. I don't know. Dang. I'm gonna hang out. That's what this is. I'm waiting for you. What time did class start? 3:15? Okay. So it's only been about 20 minutes. I just don't want these videos to be too long. Okay. The Crusades. I really am trying to decide if I want to stop the video. You're like, please. The Crusades. The Crusades are a whole series of wars. It's not just one war. There's like 9 official crusades, and there's a couple aren't official. They're wars fought between the Christians in Europe and the Muslims in the Middle East, because the Muslims, their empire, the Ottoman Empire, is moving and it's taking over land, and it has taken over, oh, God forbid, Jerusalem. Why is that a big deal? Well, Jerusalem is a holy city for 3 different religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The Muslims take it over. It's holy to them too. And the Christians kind of freak out. As a result, Christians from Europe come to fight the Muslims and get rid of them and kick them out and take over again so that they have control of Jerusalem. Okay, the first crusade, the Christians win. Yay, woo! Then they just go home. Then the Muslims just come in and take it back. Then the Christians have a second crusade, which actually, I didn't talk about this earlier, but actually, Henry II Plantagenet is one of the leaders of that. He and Eleanor of Aquitaine both go to fight the second crusade. Yeah, the Christians lose this time. But that's okay, because Richard the Lionheart is like, I got this. I can fight a third crusade and kick Salah-ad-Din out. Oh, Salah-ad-Din is the emperor. I don't think I put it on here. It's okay, but he's the emperor of the Muslims. And he's like, I can kick him out forever. Yeah, Richard the Lionheart loses the third crusade too. Guys, listen, the only crusade that the Christians won was the first one. That's it, the first one. All the remaining, like, I don't know, 10 or however many there are, the Muslims win. Those aren't good odds. That's not good. But there is some good that came out of the Crusades. Trading. Muslims and Christians, this is so weird, but even though they're fighting each other, they're also going to trade things. They also like gained respect for each other over the time that they were fighting. So when the Christians go home, Muslims are giving them things. Books is a big, oh, here it is, trade grew. Okay, I was like, wait a minute, trade grew. Sorry. I was like highlighting the whole thing. Anyway, they're giving them books. That's a big deal. Christians who can't read in Europe are going to get a hold of some books. You're like, well, so what? They can't read. Yeah, but if they can find somebody who can, the monk can teach them how to read, and now they have a book that they can read. You're like, so? Guys, human beings, we are made to seek knowledge. You're like, not me. Yeah. You look up stuff that matters to you. You Google all the time. If you don't know how to do something in a video game, you look it up. If you don't know the name of a song, you look it up. If you're curious what I don't know, something is, you Google it, you look it up. We want information. It's how we're wired. They want to read these books. They want to learn things. They don't have them. So they're going to start trading knowledge and books and all kinds of stuff with the Muslims during the Crusades. A negative that comes from the Crusades is massive amounts of distrust on both sides. Distrust between Christians and Muslims that still exists today. Ugh. Guys, these were 1,000 years ago. The Crusades were 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years. And are there still issues between Muslims and Christians today? In some cases. Between all Muslims and Christians? No. Between some? Yes. Starts here. That's so sad. Ugh. So, back to the story. Richard the Lionheart goes to lead the Third Crusade. Yeah? This is good old Lionheart. There he is. Richard was said to be attractive, tall and broad-shouldered like his father. Kind of auburn, reddish auburn hair. Auburn is like reddish brown. So like auburn hair, yeah? Attractive guy. Look at that. This is a more whatever picture of him. This is a more famous, a more, I don't know, modern, I guess, picture. Again, you can still see the red in his hair. And you can see that he is a warrior, not just a king. He's got some armor on here. He's also holding his sword. And then there's his shield. Well, unfortunately for Richard, He dies. He doesn't actually die in battle. He dies as a what's the word? A result. He dies as a result of a wound that he received in something. And it's not during the Third Crusade, it's after. But he dies as a result of it. But regardless, he dies. So his brother Geoffrey takes over, right? No. Geoffrey had previously died already. So who gets to be the king? Well, the little sickly runt, John Lackland. John Lackland gets to be king of England. And a lot of the nobles in England didn't really like him. Bless his heart. They didn't really like him. He was an annoying, whiny little kid. He's an annoying, whiny man. Ugh. His mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, is still alive. Ooh, love Eleanor. She doesn't really like him either. She's annoyed by him too. Poor John. Oops, I hit the wrong thing. Poor John. There he is. Again, it's not a very good picture. It's medieval art. Let's do a little modern. There he is. So John takes over and pretty quickly goes to war with France. Wait, who? France. Okay, listen. This gets complicated. John is the King of England, but he's still a vassal, a noble underneath the King of France. And he goes to war against King of France, Philip II. Wait, what? Why? Guys, John sucks as a military leader. He sucks as a king. Bless his heart. Do you know there's never been another king in England called John? Ever. Because he was so bad. Nobody wants that name. Do you know, I'm not making this up. Sometimes people refer to the bathroom in England as going to the John because he was so bad. Poor little guy. He goes to war with France 3 times and loses wars with them 3 times. Okay, wars are incredibly expensive. You have to pay the people, you have to pay for the food, you have to pay for the travel, you have to pay for the armor, you have to pay for the weapons. Whenever everybody comes back, you have to pay for the, what's it called, burials and all that stuff. If you lose a war, which he's now lost 3 times against France, okay, then you have to pay the winner money. The loser always pays the money. Oh, sorry, always pays the winner something. They're expensive. So what does he do? Jack up taxes. This is where your Robin Hood stories come from. It's King John. If you've seen the Disney Robin Hood with the little foxes and stuff, King John is the bad guy. Because John is jacking up taxes. It's really because of these wars. At some point, he says, okay, nobles, I got to jack up your taxes too, not just the peasant taxes, yours too. And his nobles are like, oh, heck no, that's where we draw the line, buddy. So the nobles write a document. Oh my gosh, it didn't work. There we go. A mega important document. You should have heard of this before. You actually should have talked about it in the 8th grade. Do you remember 8th grade? I don't know. The Magna Carta. Do you know, I've been to trainings where like US historians will say things like, King John, what an amazing man for writing the Magna Carta. And as a European historian, I'm sitting there going, King John didn't write it, duh. He didn't write the Magna Carta. His nobles did. His nobles wrote it to limit his power. That's what the Magna Carta does. Where is it? Yeah, right. King John wrote a document that took his power away. Come on. His nobles wrote it. And you know what they did? They put it on his desk and they put swords to his throat and they said, sign it. And he was like, okay. And he signed it. Just understand, John didn't write it. This is going to become basically the Constitution for England for a while. Well, for a while. Technically, it still is, I guess. I mean, there's more to it. We'll talk about the English Bill of Rights being added to it and stuff later. But this is basically the Constitution, okay? A few things that it does. Yes, it takes the nobles. No. Yes, it takes the king's rights. Oh my gosh, I'm messing everything up. Yes, it takes the king's power away by giving nobles more rights. Yes, it does. But here's how it does it. It creates this. It creates a common council that will rule with the King of England. We don't call it the Common Council today. Our word for this group is called Parliament. Have you heard of Parliament? It's basically the Congress, the Senate of England. They make laws. Okay, but listen. Are you listening? This is huge. Here's how it works. According to the Magna Carta, if the king wants to pass a law, he writes it, he takes it to a parliament meeting, and he says, hey guys, what do you think about this law? And he reads it. If parliament likes it, they sign it, the law passes. If parliament doesn't like it, they don't sign it. The law does not pass. Okay? But check this out. Are you ready? This is huge. Parliament can also write laws. They take it to a parliament meeting and they say, hey, king, we wrote this law. What do you think? King reads it. If he likes it, he signs it, law passes. If he doesn't like it, he doesn't sign it, the law still passes. What? The king cannot pass a law without parliament. But parliament can pass laws without the king. Do you see how the king just lost power? Parliament actually has the power in the English government, still to this day. The royal family is just like tradition. They're like, hello, hello everyone, hello. I mean, the queen can make laws, parliament can sign it, of course, but really the leader of parliament, the prime minister, is really the person with all the power. It's crazy, man. It's true. Something else that the Magna Carta does. What happened? Okay. I have the actual quote from the Magna Carta on my wall. The quote reads like this: no scutage nor aid shall be imposed unless by the common council. What the crap does that mean? Well, in our language, no scutage nor aid shall be imposed unless by common council means this right here. No taxation without representation. If you don't have parliament representing you in the government, you don't have to pay taxes. Whoa, man. Okay, now listen. When this statement was originally made, that statement was really just for nobles. The Magna Carta was not actually intended for everybody. The Magna Carta was intended for the nobles. Today, of course, it's for everybody. But what it means is if we nobles aren't represented in the government, then you can't tax us. You can tax all the peasants, but not us. This no taxation without representation, though, is going to come back over and over and over again and bite England in the butt all next semester. Watch, it's coming back. It's going to come back with the American Revolution. It's going to come back when Australia says, do we have to pay our taxes? Because who's the Australian in Parliament representing us? It's going to come back with the Indian independence movement in the 1940s. Where's the Indian in Parliament who represents us? Because England, if you're not represented in the government, you don't have to pay taxes. Whoa. England now has a constitution. That means the King of England cannot do whatever he wants. He will be checked and balanced by the Parliament. We now have a two-branch system in England. King rules with Parliament. In America, we have a three-branch system. President, King. Congress, Parliament. And judges, judicial. But they only have two. King, Parliament. King can't do whatever he wants, and that matters. Next semester, we're going to chop a king's head off for dissolving the Parliament. That means firing everybody. Say, I don't need you, go home. Can the president say that to the Congress? No, because we have a constitution. Yeah, the Magna Carta is their constitution now. Can the king say that? No, Parliament, go home. No, he can't. So just know, Parliament. I just heard a weird noise. Parliament is who really has the power in England. Okay. Okay. Tomorrow? What are we doing tomorrow? Ooh, a little bit of culture in the Gothic period. Okay, that's all. Bye.